hello, everyone. My name is Julie Rubio. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the president of Women in Film San Francisco Bay Area. Welcome to the ins and outs of Film Festival, mistakes and filmmakers, the mistakes that filmmakers make. And this is a very important event, and there's so many people that are still logging in. So I'm just going to speak a little bit about our time together. And I'd like to recognize that while we are in cyberspace currently, those of us in Oakland, Berkeley, Piedmont, Emeryville, and Albany, California, are on Lishan Ohlone territory. And you can visit your native land in the chat. I went ahead and put that into the chat to identify the indigenous land that you are on. For those that are new to Women in Film, San Francisco Bay Area, we are a volunteer-run nonprofit organization that currently provides networking and educational social opportunities for over thousands of people in film and TV and digital media makers in San Francisco Bay Area. Our mission is to really empower and promote and celebrate women's creative work and people's creative work. To support that mission, our community cherishes diversity and invites people of any gender, any age, ethnicity, national origin, range of abilities, sexual orientation, gender identity, financial means, education, and political perspective to join Women in Film. And as active members of our board, so we're always looking for people to support the board, and you can click if you'd like to join if you're not a member yet on www.wifsfba.org in the link in the chat for more information. And now I'd like to introduce our Vice President, Women in Film, San Francisco Bay Area, Ms. Diane Walsh, who has organized today's event and will be moderating. I would like to introduce Diane now.
Thank you, Julie, and welcome everyone. On behalf of WIFSFBA's Board of Directors, Carol Hall, Neil Unerdem, Julie Rubio, Kelly White, Nicole Carson, Amy Zins, and myself, thanks so much for choosing to spend your Saturday morning with us. We really appreciate it. Now, so Nicole, if you could share our community partner slide. Events like this one that you're attending today are not done and executed in a vacuum. So I'd like to let you know who our community partners are for this event. Women in Film LA, the California Film Institute, Black Film Space, the Center for Asian American Media, and the UC Berkeley Cinematic Arts and Production Club. And then we have a second slide here for the rest of our partners, the Women in Film and Television US, the Media in Seattle, Film Fatales, and the Jewish Film Institute. These partners are vital to our outreach, and we thank them for the generosity and support of WIFSFBA and this event. So thank you. Today we're going to go on an informative journey into the heart of the cinematic world we're all in. That's the realm of film festivals. As storytellers, we understand every film has a unique voice and vision, and often it's the festival circuit that provides the platform for those voices to be heard by the public for the first time. Our guides on that journey today are Rona Edwards and Monika Skerbelis. We'll lay out strategies that can elevate your film festival outcomes to that next level, no matter what your film festival experience. Today's group, we have almost 40 people here today. We have seasoned people who've had maybe 5, 6 movies and have gone through the festival circuits that way. Others have maybe done 1 or 2. And then we have people who have not done it at all yet in terms of the film festival route. So all of you, the strategies that you'll hear today will enable you to better showcase your work, gain industry recognition, and hopefully forge connections that will expand your filmmaking endeavors. So let me tell you a little bit about the 2 guides we're going to have today. First is Rona Edwards. And she and I met while we were working in LA over 30 years ago. A Cal Arts grad, she's worn many hats in our business. She's been vice president of creative affairs for Oscar and Emmy-winning producers. And she's produced many film and television projects of her own, including the award-winning documentary Selling Sex in Heaven, which won the Beyond Borders Award for documentary film and the Big Bear Film Festival Jurors Award. She's also been a consultant for numerous film commissions and teaches film-related courses at Chapman University and other higher ed institutions. Her partner in crime for this event is Monika Skerbelis, who's the programming director for the American Pavilion's Emerging Filmmaker Showcase at the Cannes Film Festival. And she was the artistic and programming director for the Big Bear Lake International Film Festival for 14 years. As vice president of creative and executive story editor for Universal Pictures, she spent 10 years overseeing the story department and went on to associate produce TV movies. She teaches at UCLA Extension and co-teaches courses with Rona. And together, both of them have written 2 books. The critical acclaimed I Liked It, Didn't Love It, Screenplay Development from the Inside Out, which is now in its 3rd edition. And I think any of us who have submitted scripts or films, and we've heard those words, oh, I liked it, didn't love it. So we definitely understand what that book's about. And the second book is the Complete Filmmaker's Guide to Film Festivals, your all-access pass to launching your film on the festival circuit. A second edition of that book is in the works and will be coming out late this year, maybe the beginning of next year. And this book actually was the book that sparked the idea for this event. So again, now it's time to say hello to Rona Edwards and Monika Skerbelis. So are you here with us? There you are.
Hi. Good to see everybody online and say hello to everybody. And I hope that we can help enlighten you to some of the aspects of the ins and outs of film festivals. Naturally, we can't do it all in one fell swoop in 45 minutes or so, but we're going to try and do our best to give you a great overview.
It's a crash course.
A crash course, but I'm sure you'll have questions as well. So we're trying to give a little bit of everything to everybody.
Great. Well, we're thrilled to have you. Now, as we've been discussing, interest in film festivals has always been high, but it seems even more intense during these times of upheaval and change in our business that we're experiencing, because filmmakers aren't quite sure how these changes are affecting this traditional film path route to selling their films and getting distribution. So as a testament to that fact that people need some help, again, we have almost 40 people here. Everyone's excited to hear your perspective and thoughts on the steps that they might take if they have a film ready to go, as our president, Julie Rubio, is ready to get into this step herself. So I'm going to let you just dive in for the next 45 minutes, and then we'll do the Q&A after. So the floor is yours. So let's go.
All right, I'm going to share my screen and hope that this will work. I'm not sure. So welcome everybody to the ins and outs of film festivals. These are mistakes that filmmakers make. We always figured the best way to present things is to show what people have done before that maybe weren't in the right pocket, the mistakes that filmmakers have made, so that you guys can actually avoid those mistakes. So in knowing that, we'll move forward. So what is a film festival? You might think you know what a film festival is, and you might think it's this. And film festivals have been around for a long time. They started as film societies, but basically it's an annual event showcasing new films or recently produced films from around the world. But it's actually much more than that. And this is where an audience understands what a film festival really is, not just to go see films, but the fact is a film festival is curated.
And it's from watching many films submitted and watched by screeners and programmers. And the films are vetted, which is important to know.
Yeah, so everyone's film gets sometimes up 3 or more viewings by different screeners, and then the programmers put together, depending on the scoring and so forth, they put them into a certain section of to be considered to be programmed for the film festival itself. So just note that they don't get thrown into just a pile. People really do watch your films.
I mean, with what I program, I have up to 6 to 8 screeners, helping me watch all the films.
Yeah, and Sundance has a lot more, and others have some. Newport has quite a few, as well as Telluride, obviously. And then there are smaller festivals that can do a great job for you as well, and they have a smaller amount of screeners as well. But they all score the films. And there's over 5,000 film festivals worldwide, so you can throw a stick and there'll be a film festival.
I counted over 35 film festivals, like in the 2 to 3 hour distance from, the Bay Area up there.
Yeah. So you got 35 more than 35 film festivals just in the Bay Area alone.
Yeah, just up in the 2 to 3 hour radius.
That's quite amazing. So you've got a lot of stuff up there to actually attend or submit your film to. But let's talk a little bit about the top tier film festivals. And to be honest, there's only 5 really top tier. And I'm not going to, that's not to denigrate other film festivals that are very important, but there's a reason why these 5 are top tier.
I mean, they're top tier because, industry professionals, they're attending these top film festivals, looking for films to acquire, looking for new talent.
A lot of them have film markets attached to them. That's another reason why they're one of the 5 top tier. You will find every agent manager that's involved in acquisitions and production companies and so forth will attend these 5 for sure. And then there's right under that, and we're going to show you what that is as well. So what are those 5 top tier? Here they are. Sundance
In January.
Berlin
In February.
Cannes
In May. Venice in August. And Toronto in September, which is going on right now.
Right, as we speak. I think we're on the second or third day.
Yeah.
So these are very important festivals because number one, Venice is the oldest film festival, though it was interrupted by World War II. So Edinburgh kind of likes to take the award for being the longest consistently running film festival. But it started in 1932, though you could say film societies started way before that in London in the early 1900s, actually, when film was just a baby, an embryo. And this is a picture actually of the first Venice Film Festival screening. And that screening was an American film, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They also screened Frank Capra's It Happened One Night that year and King Vidor's The Champ.
Then you get to the Cannes Film Festival. And Cannes is one of the largest film festivals, but it's also the smallest film festival because it screens, like 20 to 22 official selection competition films trying to vie for the Palme d'Or award. But they also have many sidebars going on as well.
And it's you could do a whole seminar just on Cannes, and we do actually,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of sidebars to it, and some that are not necessarily official Cannes connections, but yet Cannes recognizes them as well. But we will say, so Cannes is like the largest film festival, as Monika said, though it screens the least amount of films. It started in 1939. And guess what happened after the opening night film, which was The Hunchback of Notre Dame, by the way? World War II broke out. So they had to shut down the festival. And by the way, the jury, the heads of the jury were the Lumiere brothers. And it began again after the war in 1946. So Cannes is glamorous. That's a picture Monika took. Quite beautiful, actually.
Kind of where I've been hanging out for the last 15 years.
Yeah, every Cannes you're there with the American Pavilion, and then of course the famous red carpet, and it's very glamorous and wonderful. The next important film festival is the Berlinale. They also have many subsections that are very important, especially for young people. They have a generation section. They also have a talent campus. This is the theater they show their movies at. There it is today. Actually, Berlin was started in 1951 as a way. It was actually started by an American, I believe, naval officer, if I'm not mistaken. There was a way to heal the Germany after the war by putting together art and in the Berlinale and the film in particular, and bring to light the German film industry. But also, again, the opening night film was an American film. It was Albert Hitchcock's Rebecca. So it's always interesting. The next film festival is called the Festival of Festivals. It's actually Toronto. It was called the Festival of Festivals because it actually had the best of every other festival screened there. So anything that won another festival screened at the Festival of Festivals, until they realized they were in September and gateway to Oscar. So you'll see that that's this year's poster. What you'll see is what started this whole thing about understanding that it's gateway to Oscar time was a little film that had little known stars in it. Glenn Close, William Hurt, Kevin Kline, Goldblum, Jeff Goldblum. And this film actually was premiered at Toronto, and Toronto realized, my God, the stars came. They could actually make this a hub as a gateway to potential Oscar bait, basically Oscar films. So of course that film was The Big Chill. So of course, North America has Toronto, but then much later came Sundance. And Sundance was actually started by Robert Redford's brother-in-law, Sterling Van Hayden. Actually, that's not his name. Sterling Van Wagner, sorry. Sterling Van Wagner. And they did it as a way to bring people to Utah to film in Utah. That was the whole start. But Redford had already started his Sundance lab. And what happened, it was called the U.S. Film Festival originally. And what happened was they ran into financial problems. So Redford, he took it over. He had the Sundance Institute basically take it over. And, you know, the rest is history. Sundance became the big place for independent film, discovering new filmmakers, welcoming documentaries, welcoming Native American projects, and much, much, much more. So that's just to give you a rundown. That does not denigrate other film festivals like that are important, like South by Southwest,
Telluride, Rotterdam, Locarno.
Yeah,
London,
we could go on and on. And in fact, one of the things we're pleased to give you at the end of this is in the back of our book, we have over 1,000 festivals divided by region, and we've just updated it for the new second edition of the book. And we're actually going to put it in the chat for you during our Q&A that you can download and have for your own. And it's divided by regions, which is so great.
So next up, now we're going to get to the nitty gritty here, is the common mistakes filmmakers make. The first one is didn't have good logline.
And you guys know this seems so right? But it's really hard to write a really good logline because it has to have some sizzle to it. It's the one thing that entices people to come see your film. You know that a logline is 1 or 2 sentences that basically tell what your film is about. We're very persnickety about loglines. We don't put in a character's name unless it's about a real well-known person or event. And we tend to always want to do it from the protagonist's perspective, the objective that they have, and the obstacles in that character, the hero's way. Otherwise, if you're just doing a concept, we don't understand who we hang our hat onto as far as that person that we're supposed to follow and maybe root for, even if they're an anti-hero. So the thing about a logline is it's not a tagline.
You don't want your logline to be the tagline. A tagline is a marketing line, or it's the gotcha line. You know, it's on a poster. It's what's going to pick interest.
Yeah, it's that little thing that you see on the poster. We're going to talk about posters in a few seconds because that's really about publicity and promotion for your film. It's very important to have a kick-ass poster, but the tagline helps in intrigue. It piques that person's interest to go, oh, that's funny, or that's interesting, or I want to know more. And a tagline is different from a hook. A hook is something you use when you're pitching something. Usually it's a high concept that you know is going to bring audiences into the theater. Not every story has a high concept, by the way, but they should have some sort of hook to it. It's much easier to derive hooks from higher concept stories, like probably one of the most famous ones is, I can just see them in the room pitching the story, Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger as twins. I bet they sold it in the room just based on that. You know, a lawyer tells the truth for 24 hours. We all know about lawyers. No offense to any lawyers in the audience, but you know, there's a reputation that lawyers don't always tell the truth. And that's where Liar, Liar got that tagline really worked really well for them. But also the hook of it is, you know, the lawyer has to tell the truth for 24 hours. And you can go on and on. There's so many more taglines that we could go through. And we're going to show a few in a second.
And you also want to know the difference between a theme. You know, the theme is the message. It's the moral of the story. You want your audience to leave with this.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll leave with something that maybe you as the creator didn't even expect them to lead with. And I think that's perfectly fine too, because it's all about interpretation and what you get out of it. But the creators have to know what they're trying to say and what they really would like their audience to lead with. So here's a log line.
A dysfunctional family travels in a VW bus cross country so the youngest member can compete in a children's beauty pageant, only to discover that family is the one thing that matters.
And you probably know that this is Little Miss Sunshine. And what we love about this is
that the theme is right there. Family is the one thing that matters.
And you don't always have to have the theme in your logline, but sometimes it really kind of ties it all together. It would be perfectly fine if you put a period after pageant as well. So let's look at the poster, because this is something that, we want to examine a little bit today. It's very yellow. It has a great tagline. That doesn't really tell us the story of the movie. A family on the verge of a breakdown, which is a real homage to Pedro Almodovar. And it also is funny. And then you see this wild picture below of the VW bus and people running crazily alongside it. You know this is a comedy just by its brightness, but you also know it's quirky. And then, of course, you look at the top and you see all the stars very evenly placed. It's going to catch someone's eye. You basically have 30 seconds, well, really, actually, you have about 15 seconds, if that, to catch a person's eye with a poster. You want to make them turn and look and come closer to see, what is that? What is that about? Okay, now it's not moving. Okay, here's another one.
A true story about a heterosexual, homophobic man diagnosed with AIDS who bucks the system in order to supply necessary meds for himself and others that have not yet been approved by the FDA.
So I should say that Little Miss Sunshine premiered at Sundance, and Dallas Buyers Club premiered at Toronto. So let's look at the poster of the first, one of the first posters of Dallas Buyers Club. Here you see the tagline is "Dare to Live." Again, it's not a log line. It's a marketing line. Dare to Live, Dallas Buyers Club. If you didn't know the book that it was based on, what you would get out of this picture is Matthew McConaughey looking like he's got the world at his feet. We can see the datedness of it with the Cadillac behind him. And if you knew that was it's a city skyline, but it is a Dallas city skyline, obviously. If you don't know Dallas, it wouldn't matter. And then it says inspired by a true story. But this was a hard one to sell because it's about AIDS, and it's always harder. Subjects are more dramatic. They're harder to sell. But once it gets a premiere like this one did at Toronto, all of a sudden, all the great reviews come in and you want to put them on your poster. Now we have a different kind of poster. He's a little more serious. Sometimes it takes a hustler to change the world. Now the tagline has changed as well. And of course, now they're touting his performance and so forth, and it's gaining speed. So that's the things you want to start thinking about with your own posters, and also be able to change it. Don't keep sticking with the same poster if there's a way to boost your film with great reviews and get people's attention even more, especially distributors. More recently, Coda started with a very plain poster. It was a Sundance official selection, very plain. You really have no idea if you know what the word coda is, but coda could mean in music. It's kind of a double thing because it's also music and it's not just children of deaf adults. But then as it got accepted and got played in Sundance and so forth, and the reviews came out, I particularly like the left poster a lot, where they're spelling out coda and the winning, all the winners at Sundance. Then as it was already streaming, they really could play into the family aspect of it. And there you see that tagline, every family has its own language. And the way you really come up with the tagline is say the title and then try out different taglines. Just write a bunch of them, even if they sound cheesy. Write a bunch of them, and somehow it will come up and you'll go, coda, every family has its own language. That it just makes sense. You'll know it's got a rhythm to it. So there's a few more different posters from Coda after it won the Academy Award as well. So they pushed that.
So next up, you didn't target the right film festivals. This is really important, where you want to really want to do your research and strategize, the right film festivals for your film. Know what you have. And like Rona said, we're going to have a handout to give you of all the film festivals. from our list.
It's a start. It's 1,000, but it's a start.
Yeah.
But
and for
yeah.
documentaries, for feature documentaries and for short films and animated short films, you can also go to oscars.org and you can get a list from there of the Academy qualifying film festivals.
Yeah, that would be for
which
documentary feature, documentary shorts, live narrative shorts, as well as animated shorts.
Yeah.
And they change it every year. So don't just think you only should get one and you're good. Every time you have a film that's going into a film festival, and if that's important to you, because you do need to set up goals for yourself. If you want to win awards at Academy qualifying film festivals, which means that you are basically eligible to get one of those awards.
Also, I just want to mention, because I heard that we had some students in the room as well, is that there's the Student Academy Awards, and also the TV Academy has the Student College TV Awards, that you should you check out as well.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. And there's a lot, we do talk about a lot of this in our book, but you should all be aware there's a lot out there, and there's a lot of programs that can help you with getting your film into film festivals, but also understanding that you have a lot of choice out there. And that's the overwhelming part, is the choice. How do I narrow it down? So the other thing that you want to really check out is the premiere status, if a film festival requires it. And let's talk about that for a second. What kind of premiere are we talking about?
You have the world premiere, which is the first time the film is screening.
The international premiere and the regional premiere. As Monika just said, the world premiere is the first time ever. But the international premiere is actually the first time that it screens outside of the country of production, country of origin that it was produced in. So if you actually shot it in Singapore, anything outside of Singapore could be considered an international premiere.
And then you have the regional premieres, which could be a state, city, like the East Coast premiere, the West Coast premiere, the Los Angeles premiere, San Francisco
the
premiere,
North American premiere,
the
the French premiere, the whatever. It's more regionally based. And now not every film festival requires a premiere. In short films, Sundance doesn't require a premiere, but they do like a premiere for feature films. So you really do have to go, everyone's website has guidelines to it. And you really need to go check them and make sure you understand what is required of you.
Yeah, like for instance, Tribeca, they're going to want to have the New York premiere. And also, you also want to pay attention to the premieres, because you may not want to submit to a smaller festival, before submitting to, like one of the bigger ones, if you feel that your film, has that opportunity to go to one of the bigger film festivals.
And a lot of times the smaller film festivals have a longer reign. The normal journey on a film festival is probably 18 months, but some film festivals will accept films that are older than that, and they have to be done and completed by a certain date or year in order to be qualified for that film festival. So when you strategize, you really should put a real chart together that shows the film festivals that you're interested in, just throw them all on a page, and then put them in order of when they are during the year, and then put down what's required. Do they require a premiere status? Do they not require that? And from that, you could start to discern which festivals you need to do right away. Those are the ones. And you can apply to more than one at a time. And if you get accepted into one, you can let the other one know, I've just been accepted. What are my chances in yours? Because maybe that's Berlin or something, and you'd rather have your film premiere at Berlin versus some other festival. So you need to kind of play the dice game a little bit.
Right.
So these are a few short film festivals we recommend.
The Palm Springs Shorts Fest, one of our favorite film festivals.
And
There's
it's
so
really
much going.
close.
It's close. Even if you don't get in, but you submit, you will be in their market, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But highly recommend, a trip down there, because there's so much networking that's going on, and they have forums and, with really great.
A lot of educational possibilities.
Panel discussions where, sometimes they'll have like maybe 5 programmers from different film festivals, like on one panel. And so you can ask them, questions about their film festival. And also Clermont-Ferrand in France is one of the largest international short film festivals.
And for animation, it's Festival d'Annecy in France, and Sheffield Stock. So this is, by the way, we have a lot of these in the pages we're going to be sending to you, but these just highlight, there's a lot more. And they're all over the world. So, but Palm Springs is one of our favorites. We try to go every year because they have great panels, great films. It's all short films, and it's a real celebration of filmmaking. and at the hottest time of year, I might add, in June. So you've got to be understanding sometimes it's 117 degrees there, but it's still worth it. And then there's the short film markets that Monika mentioned. There are short film markets. There is a place for short films. You can find distribution even for short films. You're not going to get rich off of it, but it sort of validates because you're in a curated situation like Short of the Week and Shorts TV and so forth. There's a bunch, and also Movie and Indie Flicks, and a bunch of them will also curate films on their website. And a lot of them are not exclusive, by the way. So you can have your film, if it's a short film, on multiple sites, probably even on some of the features, but they may be a little more stricter on the features. So the Cannes Short Film Corner, the Palm Springs Short Fest, like Monika said, even if your film doesn't get accepted into the Short Fest at Palm Springs, you are still going to be in the market. So there's still reason to go down and market and bring postcards and talk to distributors and agents, managers, again, depending on what your goal is, to find distribution, acquisition, get a representation, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, Clermont-Ferrand in France. Do you want to say anything more about the short film?
Yeah, the Cannes Short Film Corner, if you get accepted, they vet all the films. I mean, they get a lot of films, but they're also in their video library. They will have close to 900 short films, but you get 2 badges, 2 Cannes accreditation badges. And also they've changed things up in the last couple of years. It's now they have what's called Rendezvous Industry, and they have a lot of forums and networking that's going on as well.
Don't they have their like 6 o'clock cocktail hour or something like that?
5 o'clock cocktail every day. In the Short Film Corner, all of that takes place the second week of the Cannes Film Festival.
So for feature film and TV markets, there are quite a few. There's European Film Market, EFM, which happens at the Berlin Film Festival. It's probably one of the most important film markets in the world. I have a friend that will say Cannes is great, but in Berlin, that's where we really make deals. And they also have a co-pro panel, not panel, but a co-pro market as well, in which if your film gets accepted, you get matched up and you can meet with financiers and other production companies and production service companies around the world to build your film into a potentially fully financed film.
And then there's like the American Film Market, which takes place in Santa Monica, and at the end of October, beginning of November.
Yeah. And Hong Kong has a film market. The Marché du Film, obviously, in Cannes.
And Marché du Film, they also have what's called the Doc Corner, which it's a special section for feature-length documentaries. And so, that might be something to also check out.
And then Cinemart in Rotterdam is really good. And Cinemart in Rotterdam is really interesting because the Rotterdam Film Festival really enjoys experimental film. They do display a lot of Asian film as well. And it's an important festival. For television, there's MIP TV, obviously, in Cannes, and NAPTI in Miami. NAPTI is going to be doing more of a traveling show as well. So you're going to see it in different territories like Los Angeles and maybe even up in San Francisco for that matter. And that's always a fun thing. They have great panels and stuff. It's geared more towards television, but always an interesting thing to attend. So this is a sample of a submission checklist that we've cultivated. You can add different columns to it all you want. This is a way to keep you organized as you start to put down the targets for the film festivals you want to submit to.
I mean, it's really helpful, because you have the date of the film festival, the date of the film festival, and then you could put down all the entry fees, the early entry fees, the regular, the late entry fees, the notification date. And then, if it's something that you really want to, follow up with, with an email, then, like you would follow up, before their notification dates, like maybe, 4 or 5 weeks out. And this is just like a great way to just kind of keep track, of where you've submitted your films.
Yeah, and it's not just where you've submitted your films, because you don't always have your results yet. It's about putting the list together to submit your films, and from that, even narrowing it down. So I like to do an A list and a B list, and sometimes even a C list. Those are the ones like online festivals, maybe way down the line, if we even want to do that. Online has really become an interesting blur right now because of COVID. Film festivals, I think, have returned pretty much to the present, but even Sundance has an online component to it now, as does Tribeca. So this is a great way to keep yourself organized and put your films together. You might even color code it to what you think are the most important festivals for you, and do it in A and B lists. Separate them out where these are the most important. These I think are good. And there's many reasons to attend a film festival and submit to a film festival, by the way, because you can just say, I've never been to Portugal. I think I'll submit to the Portugal Film Festival. And if I get accepted, I get to go to Portugal, right? I'll make it my summer trip or whatever, or whenever it is. I'm not sure when it is actually, but it's true. You can make a decision just based on, I've never been there, and I would, if I get accepted, that would be a good excuse to go.
Yeah, those destination festivals are great.
So this is just a card with a bunch of different festivals on it. So submission platforms, everyone knows about Film Freeway. If you don't, you should. It's the only big platform right now for film festivals. Not the only one, but it is the largest
And
one.
you can, and Film Freeway, there is, when you submit to the film festivals, there is a tracking system within there where, it tracks where you submitted your film. Also, there are a lot of other film festivals that don't go through Film Freeway. One of them being the South by Southwest. They have their own submission platform. So you would go to their website in order to submit.
Wasn't there one other two that
No,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Well, that was one that just came to my,
Oh,
that I had
South by
recently.
Southwest.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Cool.
I thought there was another one, but
Yeah.
it was Film Freeway. It ended up being.
Yeah, but there are a couple of other platforms. Again, it's all free for you as the filmmakers to just submit. Well, you submit and you pay for the festival fees, obviously, but to sign up is free, obviously. So we have Short Film Depot. Clermont-Ferrand is exclusive to Short Film. They tend to do more European festivals or outside the US. Part of that is due to fees. Sometimes a lot of the foreign festivals are actually free. Fest Home and
Another one.
and Click for Festivals
Click, yeah.
also are platforms. I not used, to be honest, Fest Home or Click for Festivals, but they are an active platform. I'm not sure how they stay in business against.
They're more internet. They're more
Film
international.
Freeway.
Although I've tried Fest Home as a film festival, and I only got one submission.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I guess that's
Yeah.
good in some ways, but I think the two that you really are concerned with are Short Film Depot for short films, but then Film Freeway is the big kahuna. So you want to do your research. You want to, depending on your goals, you want to check out who attends those festivals. If your whole perspective is, I need to meet agents and managers, I need to meet finance people, I need to see how to finance my next film, then you really want to take a look on those websites and see who's attending. Aside from those top 5 we mentioned, we said South by Southwest, Tribeca, Telluride, or a few others, but don't underestimate some of the smaller festivals.
Yeah, some of the smaller festivals, they'll give lifetime career achievement awards, and they'll have the industry, like when I programmed for the Big Bear Lake Film Festival, which was 2 hours outside of Los Angeles here up in the mountains. I had industry agents and I had producers. I had some amazing people. I had a whole cinematography section, and it was an amazing film festival. So I went to the Poppy Jasper Film Festival, which is not too far from you guys, a couple of years ago, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I would look to see if there's an industry presence, if that's what's important to you. I mean, the ultimate thing is you want to get your film seen. And if you can get it seen at a prestigious festival, fantastic. Then you need to really seize the opportunities. You just don't go and attend. You really need to do the homework and research of who's going to be there and make those appointments to meet with those people, for example, and create a whole press campaign for yourself. But if your film is a niche kind of film, or it has a sidebar connotation to it, you can look at film festivals that gear itself towards very specific niches.
Yeah, look at your film and see what you have to offer. You may have something within your film that might fall under one of these under a niche film festival.
Yeah. And it can be, like I said earlier, you can throw a stick and there's a film festival somewhere. Again, you want to get your film in front of audiences for sure. You want to start with your goals for the film festival. What do you want to achieve? And if it's about industry context, then and Oscar qualifying and so forth, you need to look at those festivals first. But then maybe as you move into that second year, you try to go into some of the niche festivals.
Yeah.
It's just a few
few
more niche festivals going on here.
The environmental film festivals,
Yeah, so these are just more specific.
So what's another really important aspect to your film festival strategy is having the film's budget, in your part of your line item, you
have to have a line item on your budget. No question. And you can call it film festivals, you can call it promotion, whatever you want to call it. PR, advertising, whatever, but you need to create a budget of how much money you are going to put towards film festivals and promotion thereof. Because once you realize how much it costs to go between transportation and lodging and food and so forth, it can be quite a bit of money. And if you don't strategize, you're just throwing a lot of money against the wall. So strategize which ones you really want to go to. Others also, are you the only one going? Are there other people in your film or part of the crew that could also take up some of the banter? That needs to be decided ahead of time, because otherwise there'll be some infighting later on, I would
Yeah, because some
imagine.
film festivals may only give you one pass, and so you need to have it in your budget to be able to bring other more of your cast and crew.
Or you make a decision up front saying, listen, there's only one pass. I'm the director, I'm the producer, I'm the writer, whatever. I'm going to probably take that pass. If I can't, I'm going to hand it down to the next person, to take advantage of. And anyone else who wants to come is welcome. Maybe we could work out some deals, but you'll be responsible for your own pass, because not everybody can afford to pay for everybody, right? But here's an example. If you look at Sundance, the entry fee is around $90 for the regular entrance fee. That's not the late, which is always more money. Airfare is not horribly much, but getting to Sundance getting to Park City from Salt Lake City can cost. If you rent a car, that's one thing, but we don't really.
You don't know, how late you're coming in.
Or a bus, you can take the bus up there. There's always shuttles that go up there. You can organize that. And you could share with other people for that matter. We don't recommend driving up in Park City. It's really hard to park. It's usually snow on the ground. Plus Sundance is Park City is so easy to get around because they have shuttle buses really close to the different hotels and stuff and lodgings. So it's really much, and that's where actually you meet people's on the bus. That's taking you places.
Just standing in line.
Yeah, that's part of the experience, right?
Yeah.
So lodging can be expensive. If you're sharing with other people, obviously that's better. A lot of people do that at Sundance. They rough it a bit because you're really watching movies morning till night and networking. Approximate total for basically 4 days and 3 nights is at least $2,300, almost $2,400. And then Clermont-Ferrand is free to enter, but man, it's we got to move forward, I guess. So moving forward, didn't think about the marketing and advertising, did not allow enough time to accomplish it. So what do you need? Well, obviously posters and postcards and an EPK.
And yeah, one of the things, I'll just wait until we get there.
Yeah. What do you need to publicize? You need bios of all your key crew and above the line. You need straightforward cast and crew list, just very straightforward credits. You might want a backgrounder depending on if something interesting happened, especially with documentaries. There can be some things, but you want to point out about the process of making a film. If you had difficulties, those are always fun to put in a background or production notes, it could be called. A fact sheet is really good for documentaries as well, but they can also be good for live action films depending on, what is the subject matter, what you want to highlight. This gives press an opportunity to write something. You're actually giving them the article in a way that the angle to write something. Here you have a postcard. Back has a bit of a synopsis. It has a call to actions. This was a documentary and websites. And then there's that blank space there. And this is really a key element. You can get a lot of postcards made up. And if you leave that space blank, then when you go to a festival, you just put an Avery label on it with the venue, the time, and the date of your screening, and then you don't use up all your postcards at once. You use them per festival that way. A sample press release, which will change, and you'll use it to go with your EPK to get press and send it to the different outlets. A couple of promotional items. So people do hand out stuff at film festivals that sometimes it's notable. If you notice in the right-hand corner there's a basket of fortune cookies. This was a short film at the Palm Springs Short Fest this last summer. It was a film with Renee Taylor and Hal Linden, and they're eating Chinese food in it. So this guy came to the festival with a basket of fortune cookies, as you can see, individually wrapped, and the fortune said nice shirt, but if you turned it over, it actually said the screening day and time and where, which I thought was pretty brilliant. So this is a kind of a thing that you'll see. It's a list of some stuff we didn't go over, like photographs from your film need to be 300 DPI for hard print and 72 DPI for digital. Don't forget a lot of programs are still in hard print. You want to make sure what the festival needs.
And one of the things that I like when you're handing out business cards, if you're not like bumping your phones, is a business card that has the poster on one side and all your contact information on the other side.
Yeah.
I find that very helpful.
Yeah, so this is a marketing checklist, creating a website as a hub, a logo, if it's your film's logo, your business card, all that stuff should have a branding to it. It should be very consistent. And then, of course, your social media checklist. And I always say, you got to connect the dots. Not every social media platform should say exactly the same thing. So take a look and see that Instagram is more visual. TikTok is also visual. Twitter or X and Threads are more pointing people or announcements and so forth. You can vlog from film festivals. You can stream live and include all the people that are in your contact list to keep them abreast of what you're doing.
And this is fun where this one filmmaker, David Dibble, he had a documentary called Rocks for Sale. And every time he would get accepted into another film festival, he took his little red wagon and he would like put it in front of some significant part of the area where he's filming at with the laurels. And I just thought this was a lot of fun to be able to see this, like on Facebook and on Instagram, where he's submitting. And
it's branding. It's branding. It's just about branding. And when you see that, right away, it's the name of his film, Rocks for Sale. It's constant, and all the different film festivals it was accepted into, which means it was vetted and probably is pretty good. You have to take advantage of the publicity opportunities at each festival. You can't just go and go, great, I got accepted. You got to do the work ahead of time. You got to put together that press kit, and then you got to get it out there to get press.
Find out the local TV station. Find out, who the radio station,
or the local newspapers,
podcasts.
All those newspapers that are in coffee bars, the LA Weekly here, and some of the other throwaways, as we call them, but they're good. People read them, more art oriented. Try to get someone to write an article on you. Get on a local podcast. And also get people from the local organizations as well coming. Get the local townsfolk. The idea is to put butts in the seat to watch your movie. So you're accepted into a film festival. Now what? That's the time you get the information.
One of the big things is to pay attention to the email that you get. Sometimes you'll get a phone call from the programming director, but if you're going to get an email, pay attention to that email. Read it twice. Because you want to be able to understand what the film festival needs, the deliverables. What is it? Do they need a DCP? Do they need a digital link? What kind of poster do they want? What kind of
what's allowed?
The still for you that's going to represent your film.
And also, you can find out how a lot of them have educational components. So you can really find out how you can participate in them, and by talking to the programming director, saying, "Hey, if you're having any panels with a film on the films of the festival, I'd be happy to partake in that." Get your screening time and email blast it to all your friends, acquaintances, business pals, and industry people. And you have your press kit ready already. So get that press release out there to all those local newspapers, trades, local TV, radio. Even if you get it into the calendar and says, Friday night at blah, 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 this is screening. That's always good. Press is press. Here's an example of some press.
Yeah, this is a David Dibble. He had his film, short film in a lot of the film festivals, but here he is, up in, he grew up in Hanford. And this is, where you take, he had a whole write-up on him, in the newspaper up there when he was part of the Emerging Filmmaker Showcase at the Cannes Film Festival. And
I love it, the fact that they take this jewel of a theater and they actually changed the marquee for him. And he took pictures of it. He has this article, and that goes in your press kit too. So ahead of time, set up some meetings, appointments. You'll get actually some, a lot of times festivals will send you who's going to be at the festival and contact information, and try to set up meetings. I've had many a filmmaker contact me prior to my attending a film festival that they wanted to meet me, and I'm happy to do so. And sometimes some great collaborations have come out of it. Those panels, educational panels that we talked about, have some great guests, great speakers. You learn something every time you go, or it validates what you already know. So find out who's going to be on those panels, and if you want to try to meet them ahead of time or during the festival. Here's just an example at Palm Springs Short Fest. They give you a whole list of people who are attending. We redacted their contact information because we didn't want to just put that out there, but you can sort of get an idea. And then they also give out the filmmakers list to all the industry people so that we can reach out to those people as well. So
attending the film festival.
yeah, this is the last bit.
Yeah, networking is so key. You know, you don't want to be shy. You just want to, like put a happy face on and just talk to everybody. And, I was at a party at the Palm Springs Shorts Fest, and I happened to have a different color of a lanyard because I was industry. And I went up to somebody who had the same color of the lanyard. We just started talking. I found out that she ran another film festival, and so probably never would have met her otherwise.
And she wanted you to come up and be
and
part of
then
it
she
too.
invited me to the
Yeah.
film festival.
And
so
in this particular picture, you see two filmmakers with Martha Coolidge, who was attending the film festival at Big Bear. Notice that they're actually in flight suits from NASA, and that's because their film was a documentary about Krista McCullough. So they walked around Big Bear with these flight suits on, and everybody was going, "What is that?" And they told them their film and when it's screening, and they had a sold-out house. Not only that, somebody at the festival was from Walmart and decided to put the film, sell the DVD of the film at that time in all the Walmarts across the country. So they got a distribution deal.
You just don't know who you're going to meet.
Yeah, it's crazy. So there's a lot you can do when you attend the festival. Above all, hopefully you're all ready with all the press and the PR stuff. You can display it. You have to find out what the requirements are. Sometimes they won't allow you to staple. They only allow tape, or you bring an easel of your own, the festival, and you put your postcards out and so forth. This is the Busan Film Festival. I was invited to a party that Australia gave. And when I saw Gillian Armstrong there, I asked if I could take a picture with her because I admire her, one of the great Australian directors of all time. And I have this now great memory and a great conversation. And not only that, a great picture. And this is Busan. And this is actually at Sundance. Some of my students I took to Sundance. And guess who happened to be at the bar they were at? So they got a selfie with Tom Hanks, Mr. Forrest Gump himself, and boy, were they thrilled. And that went viral all over the net. Enjoy the festival, eat the local foods, meet the people, meet the different distributors and so forth that attend. This is in Hong Kong. This is actually back at Sundance, another former student. He met with Justin Lin, he met Carlos Estrada, who did blind spotting, and then of course Taika Waititi, and right on the street. And he got his picture with every one of them. And then you put it in your press kit. It just makes it a little more valuable. Eat the great local culture, attend the parties and panels, meet as many people, keep going. You're not going to sleep those days you're at the festival, but it's such an adrenaline rush. Remember that you want to promote your film, but you also want to promote yourself and your next project.
And make sure that you're prepared for the Q&A. One of the questions that I'm always asking when I'm moderating is, what inspired you to make your film? Or what was challenging about making your film? So, think about that, as you participate with Q&As at the film festivals.
There's nothing worse than seeing someone being asked, "So how did you get the idea for the film?" And they're hemming and hawing and can't answer it and don't know what to say. And I'm not saying you have to be the greatest speaker in the world, but if you know that they're going to be asking that, which they will, be prepared with an answer. And the post-festival follow-up is really simple. Everyone you met, you're going to follow up with an email. Even sometimes a hard letter is really cool. Nobody gets them anymore, so it's kind of memorable. If you needed to send out links or screenplays or whatever that were promised to some of the industry people that you might have met, follow up with that.
Try to see if you can get a meeting, lunch or coffee with, some of the industry people that you met.
If you're in LA or wherever, maybe it's in San Francisco, maybe it's in New York, maybe you're staying a few extra days, you should probably plan to try and follow up with those people.
And if you have another project, you're ready to go out and pitch, just start hitting up these people that you met.
Because one of the first things they're going to say to you in a meeting is, I like your film or whatever, but what else you got?
Yeah, what's next? If your film won an award, let everyone know that you won. If you're in another film festival or finalist in a screenwriting competition, let people know about it as well.
And you want to add those awards and acceptances to your press kit, and then send out another press release when you do win those awards. So you're constantly letting people know, especially people in the industry, but also in the press, your database of contacts, if you will. You let them know, you don't annoy them with their emails, but every once in a while you're sending them an email to show what awards you've won, what festivals you've been in, what you're working on. And all of a sudden they're going to remember you and go, oh, this person's really doing a lot. We should take a meeting with them. The big thing is the festival now may be over, but you're going to continue to promote yourself and your film. And then when your next film comes up, guess what? You start all over again.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Rona and Monica. I mean, you've given a huge amount of information here, and I think you're absolutely right. There are people here who are going to have some questions. And Amy Zins, our events committee chair, is going to tell everyone now how the Q&A will work. So, Amy, are you there?
I am, and thank you, Rona and Monica. This was absolutely amazing, standing ovation if we were all together in person. I also want to remind everybody at the end of this event, please go ahead and save the chat so that you can take advantage of all of the great tips and information that you were all sharing amongst each other. First up is actually Julie Rubio with a few questions.
Oh gosh, I wrote 100 questions.
Okay, do you want me
no.
I guess one of my big questions was I attended an event yesterday that Film Fatales put on, and Film Collaborative. And one of the things they said was, it was one of the programmers for the Frontier. He said that they don't watch your films. 50% of the films at film festivals are not being watched. And
That's totally, I'm sorry, I totally disagree with that.
he was specifically talking about Sundance. He's like, they just don't have enough people. So, 16,000 entries, they're not watching all the films. And
Let me just say something. Yeah.
There are tiers. Somebody is watching the film. Maybe that programmer didn't watch, maybe that programmer's not watching every film, but there are screeners. There are like other programmers that are watching it.
So,
ones.
We just interviewed some people from Sundance for the new edition of the book. So I think they could say fresh out of the horse's mouth. And actually that other guy too from Sundance, there absolutely is untrue. They have tiers, like Monica said. There are screeners that watch the film and score them. Usually it's 1 to 5. Some of them have 1 to 9, 1 to 10, depending. And they actually don't just score the film. They score cinematography, they score acting, if originality, if it's acting only if it's not a documentary, obviously, originality, storytelling, editing, and so forth. So yeah,
and then
so
that allows you to move up the chain, so to speak.
So when you get a certain amount of score, let's say hypothetically it's a 1 to 5 scoring range, the 4 and the 5s are going to be boosted to the next level. 3s may be on the fence, and they might be put in a middle pile, but anyone that's like got a 2 or a 1 is probably not going to go much further. For sure. But it did get watched. And even at Newport Beach, the screeners have to watch. It's usually watched at least by 3 different screeners.
I am so happy you clarified that, because yesterday I think there was hundreds of people that were devastated to hear that they're paying $100 roughly on some of these film festivals and it's not being watched.
I'd like it to name the film festival. It's certainly not Sundance. Sundance has a lot of programmers, by the way, and they sit around the table and argue for their films to be in the festival.
Fantastic. So, and I'm wondering, you said to follow up with the programmers. Some of these programmers, as Emily had mentioned in her question, they say specifically don't follow up. I'm wondering if it is okay, let's say with Sundance, to follow up, when do you follow up and with whom?
Usually on their websites, maybe it would be like programming at, the film festival. You can follow up, but they don't want to be your best friends, but if you have a question, then yes, you want to be able to, communicate with them.
I mean, go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
Well,
go ahead.
They're, they will answer questions for you, whether or not they're going to tell you that you're in the film festival or not. If you're, if you have, Toronto, Telluride, or not Telluride, I'm trying to think of 2 film festivals right at the same time. Like for instance, with my Emerging Filmmaker Showcase and Tribeca Film Festival, I'll accept a film in the Emerging Filmmaker Showcase, but then the next day or the day before, they found out they were in the Tribeca Film Festival. Well, they're gonna, not screen at my film festival because they want their premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival. So, I just had this happen with a filmmaker, and so I screened his film the following year.
Yeah, I mean, I think, let me just say, programmers know each other. They're like gypsies. They go for, some of them that program for Sundance or Slamdance do other festivals as well. And each one has their little different niche. So not every festival runs exactly the same way, but I can safely say that programmers at Sundance Programmers at Mammoth Lakes also, they watch all, and you will take your questions. Paul Sloop, who does Cleveland, which is an Academy qualifying film festival, he's perfectly happy. He also does Pittsburgh. He also is very happy to answer questions. And if you get accepted into another festival at the same time, or if you want to kind of know the status, because maybe you are accepted into another festival and you don't want to give up going to Sundance, let's say, or versus another festival, they might give you a hint. If they know it's a slam dunk and you're already in, they might give you a hint, but they're very careful because they can't release all of that ahead of time with everybody else. It gets out there and the press gets it. They like to release it all at once. But I would imagine that some programmers will say, it's a very good chance, and they might give you not a definitive, because there's always a last minute shuffle sometimes.
Well, it depends on how many films that they're screening too.
Yeah, and they
You know,
never.
I mean, when I was programming for the Big Bear Film Festival, you know, if I saw a film that I thought was fantastic, you know, even at another film festival, you know, I had more of an opportunity to be able to say, hey, you know, if you submit, you know, you're in. But I can't do that with you know, the Emerging Filmmaker Showcase, because there's so much competition, and we get great films all the way up until the very end. And so, you know, another question that a lot of times, you know, filmmakers have is it best to, you know, submit your film in the early deadline versus the late deadline? You know, just, you know, like submit in the early, because if your film is good, it's going to resonate and stay with the you know, the screening staff.
But then at the same time, you know, we've heard people say, if you submit late, those are cash grabs. But then we've talked to programmers and say, no, they're not a cash grab at all. We've had films that come in the late and they'll program them if they're really good. So it's really, you know, it's an instinct in some ways, and it takes a lot of talent to program a whole program of films. So
Passionate about that.
Yeah, there's a few people who ask questions about cover letters and director's statements. So I'll just consolidate and ask if you can speak to those and the importance.
Yes, you know, I am somebody that does read I may not read it while I'm watching your film, but I will read your director's statement. I will read the cover letter. The cover letter is important to me if you identify yourself as an alumni, or if you have some relation to the area. You know, like maybe, you know, you grew up in the area, or your actor, you know, one of your actors or one of your talent grew up in the area. You want to put that in the cover letter, because the cover letter is there to highlight, not to rehash, you know, what we already can read in Film Freeway. You know, it's not, you don't have to, you know, write your log line again and write, you know, like paragraphs. It's just make it brief and get to the point of what you want to share. And same thing with the director's statement. You know, I mean, you know, focus on, you know, the director's statement of the film.
Great. There were also a few questions about having played in certain markets, for instance, Sundance or Toronto, and then being able to play places like Cannes and Berlin and other, or vice versa, playing in those. And then
Well, I've seen films screen at Sundance, and then they went on to screen at the Cannes Film Festival, you know, and at other film festivals. You know, maybe, you know, if they're not in the official selection, you know, maybe they're in Uncertain Regard or in one of the other offshoot sidebars of the Cannes Film Festival, but it's still all part of the Cannes Film Festival.
Great. Kennedy Love Green had a few questions about the external material, the additional materials. Were those questions answered, Kennedy, or did you want to continue with that?
Yes, I had a question in terms of like the poster and things like this when you're submitting to the festivals. How important are those in that selection, like an overall view of your film in the selection process? Or is that more on the back end once your film has already been selected that those really come into play?
It comes into play on the back end. I mean, you know, what's more important at the front end is your movie, is your film. I mean, yes, I mean, is put as much information as you can in Film Freeway. You know, fill out everything, you know, put a poster there, even if it's like a temporary poster, put, you know, like an image of your film there, because you do want to have something to identify.
Okay. And then the other question that I had was expanding on the director's statement. Is it in terms of what your actual statement, is it, I'm just thinking about composing this question. Is it more useful to compose a director's statement that speaks to the technical aspects of your vision for the film, or the conceptual aspects of your vision of the film?
It
For
could be both.
instance, my
It-
film.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, finish.
I was just gonna say, for instance, my film takes on an archival documentary feel, even though it's a narrative film. And so in doing that, there was some technical things that we did with giving the camera to actors. And then there was more conceptual things in terms of like story and emotion that I was trying to pull and touch on.
You know, a lot of times that director statement is a really, you're trying to get press. It's not just for the film festival. So in order to get press,
Okay.
in this day and age, it's, you know, newspaper stuff, they're not, they don't even keep a staff much anymore. Like they might have a writer or two. So the more information you give them, the more angles that you can give them for a story based on you. You might not always be in the director statement. Maybe you do an artistic statement and then you do a production background or a production notes that some of that could go in. And so you get the best of both worlds. And what that press kit gives press in general, whether it's podcasting or articles or whatever, it gives them different possibilities of, oh, I could write an article about this. Oh, this is really interesting to write about as well, and so forth. So you're giving them ammunition. And a lot of times when you do the press release, especially, you might be giving them the article right in the press release, and they don't have to do much except call and edit it a little bit. You see, you want to help them out as much as possible.
I mean, I've had it where, you know, I've read a director's statement, you know, in Film Freeway, and I may have thought, okay, you know, this film's okay, it's good. But then that director's statement may have pushed me over because there was something there that was so passionate that the filmmaker, felt so passionate about the subject matter, or there were, you know, something was going on with that film, you know, that
Okay.
elevated it.
And in a way, it's conceptually anyway, the way you did it, you did this archival, you know, what looked like it was archival footage and whatever in the context of a live action narrative. So that is, to me, conceptual anyway. How you did it would be interesting to more cinemaphiles, but could be interesting to the public too. I mean, then you can get, maybe you're written up in one of the film magazines, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
A follow-up question to Kennedy's question from a filmmaker who had a schedule conflict but is already on the festival circuit, got one audience award, and wanted to know, but does not yet have a publicist. And he was to ask, how do you, for newer filmmakers, how do you go about finding a publicist? And do you need different publicists for different markets? Because this is an internationally made. It's a film that was actually filmed in India, but it's already showing in festivals here.
It's a good question, because we didn't really talk in depth about publicists because there wasn't a lot of time, but I'll let you talk because you have a bunch of publicists that come at Cannes.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, if your film is in one of the top film festivals, then yes, you know, you want to have a publicist to help, you know, maneuver, some press there.
And get press.
And get press. I've seen filmmakers, come into smaller film festivals with a publicist, and it's a little more it can sometimes be challenging because there's so much bigger noise going on, that they may not want to focus on that one particular film. But I think that it depends on the film festival. And because a lot of this you can do a lot of this almost on your own, with your social media and contacting like the local stations, and but if you are trying to find distribution, then you really need to do your research and find out those go to those companies and get them to watch your film.
You can find out there's a bunch of publicists who do nothing but but really have a big part of their business be festival films, and some of them specialize in short films too and get publicity for filmmakers that way. But you have to understand it costs money, and there's a retainer fee. And I found with my own experience that publicists are great when they get you publicity, and then you feel like you're paying them, and they don't get you publicity, and you wonder what you're paying them for when you could maybe do, as Monica said, some of the same things. So you want to be very clear about what you're paying for on that retainer, and try to put a cap on any expenses as well.
I mean, it's a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's a relationship that's going to, last 4 months, to a year could be.
The best thing is to look at the films that your film might be in the same lane as, and see how well they did and who was the publicist for those films. That's what I would do, and try and interview a number of publicists to decide which one you really vibe with and connect with. So it's not as easy cut and dry answer, because publicists cost money. If you're at a big festival, an important festival, I think you definitely have to get someone. You have to have a team, actually. Your lawyer, your publicist, because you're hoping an acquisition will happen if it hasn't happened already for distribution. So there are a bunch of great PR people out there, and they want to hear what your goals are, and then they can tell you if they can do it for you by the basis of what your film is about.
Kristen Sherman Olness had a question about E&O insurance, and also if you had advice, Kristen, if you want to ask that, and then also anything else you'd like to say about legal clearances.
I think the question is if you get accepted to Sundance, can you get accepted to Sundance and not have E&O insurance?
So every film festival expects you to have everything cleared in your film, unless it's fair use. And I will say, we just did an interview with Michael Donaldson, who is like the king of copyright and clearance for filmmakers. He's very filmmaker friendly. He's very reasonable for filmmakers. He handles big studios, but he also handles independent filmmakers. He's like on the board of IDA and Film Independent and all of that. I highly recommend that if you get accepted into any of the big festivals, but actually any festival, because every festival expects they're not going to be liable for something you didn't clear. But some of it can be considered fair use, even in live action narrative. So my advice would be to contact Michael Donaldson, have one of his people take a look at your film and say if there's any problematic areas and what you need to do it, because you need to get E&O insurance to cover any kind of lawsuit that could potentially happen, and also just cover your butt, basically. And I will say, I had a documentary that I got clearance on everything, because we had this guy that was on all the major talk shows and all that, and I thought I was doing a great service as a producer. I got ABC cleared, I got Disney cleared, I got and I went to Michael Donaldson. I said, so I did all this clearance. He goes, wonderful, you were able to do it, but now anything else is not use. You're better off not clearing in some ways if you consider it fair use, but you need an opinion letter from a lawyer, like someone like Michael Donaldson, so that E&O insurance will cover you. And we did a Kickstarter campaign at that time for post-production, but it also helped cover the E&O insurance.
Thank you very much. I actually just need to put down a retainer to use him as my attorney. Thank you.
Yeah, he's great. He's very reasonable for independent filmmakers. He's really a good friend. Mention my name. I don't know if it will help, but he knows me. But it might help him. He's a very friendly guy anyway. It's not just because of me. He's come to a lot of these events and talked, and he's the only guy I know that can make clearance and copyright actually interesting.
Thank you.
As we're winding down with just a few minutes to go, Sophie Wang had a question about writers, the value of writers for attending festivals. Did you want to ask Sophie, or?
Yeah, sure. So I am a writer director, and I recently had a 30-minute TV pilot screenplay that got into the Orlando Film Festival. And I'm just wondering, like, in general, is there value for screenwriters to attend film festivals that are not Austin Film Festival or Nicole's?
Absolutely.
I mean, it depends. I think everything, it depends. I mean, I don't know Orlando as well, although you could go to Disneyland there while you're there and go to use it as a good, vacation trip and a tax write-off. Depends on who's there. Florida has a lot of industry people that are working there, live there, whatever, and maybe they attend, and that's a good opportunity. Everything's an opportunity. You never know. Even at some of the, there was a filmmaker we know that attended, I think it was Mill Valley, she met somebody from, I think it might have been Brazil or whatever, and he invited her and her film down to Brazil. So, and paid for the whole thing. So it's like, you just never know how things can come out. So you might meet some interesting people. Being a screenwriter, we sometimes don't, it's one thing if you're a director, producer, or an actor, you're kind of, or even an editor and a production designer or a cinematographer, your work is really out there, but the screenwriter, is done with their work when the movie's already getting made and afterwards. And without them, it ain't on the page, it's not going to be on the stage. So there's a lot of great screenwriting competitions out there, and some that are connected with the film festivals that are definitely worthwhile going. And you just never know who you're going to meet. And maybe it's not about that screenplay, maybe it is, but maybe it's about the next one.
And it's the filmmakers that you're going to meet there, that maybe you hook up, with, working with another, with your meeting directors, that, might be interested in your future material.
Yeah. All right.
So it's very hard to say don't attend, because there's something exciting about film festivals. Some, by the way, you got to be careful of exploitation too. I'm not saying Orlando's exploitive, because I think it's fine, but I know of some filmmakers who have applied and gotten into some film festival in some little town in England, and they decided to go, and it was like a theater, and the people that were in the theater were the programmers.
Oh, wow. That's sad.
It's very sad. I mean, but you have to say, where there's exploitation, and people will find a way to exploit. So that's why we always say at this point, we still don't recommend totally online film festivals unless it's connected to a big festival. Because save those for the end of the journey. You don't want to blow your premieres and stuff on that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
One
Sure.
more,
You're welcome.
very quick, I hope, question from Josephine Green Zhang, and then after that answer, I will pass the baton back to Diane to bring us to a close. I wish we could go on for hours, but
We could just do Q&A.
Josephine, real quick.
Hi, awesome. Thank you for everything today. I'm just reaching out because I have a short film that's a little bit long that could potentially be a TV pilot. So I'm just curious if you have any feedback about these episodic parts in film festival, how they're perceived by the industry. I'll try to be quick, but I just wanted to say that I missed the Sundance short film thing because I'm in post right now, but the episodic's still open. So I'm thinking of submitting. And then if I don't get in, I'm like, maybe I could do the Sundance shorts next year since it's not premiere status. So
yeah, they might have a time limit on the date at Sundance of when you can, what it's like, from what date to what date for the next festival, but you'll have to check their website on that. Yeah, episodic, sure, why not? You should apply. Every film festival is doing television or episodic. South by Southwest has been doing it a long time. Others are really getting into it as well, and they should, because it's a blurred line.
I mean, I had a film this year that was in the American Pavilion's Emerging Filmmaker Showcase that was, like a TV pilot. And, they had their press kit and they had everything all, ready to go. And they also, I think they won, I think it was Holly Shorts Film Festival, that they
Which
won
is an Academy qualified
in that
festival.
episodic TV, arena.
Yeah. And you should, it's really hard to look at TV as the stepson or the bastard stepchild or something like that, as it used to be, because it's really at the forefront. That's where most of us are going to make our living. So festivals have really lobbed onto that, and most of them have a digital, they call it digital TV or episodic TV or whatever they want to call it. So yeah, you should do it.
are there any cons versus or pros versus submitting it as a TV pilot versus a short? Because it really is like,
I personally think the pro is doing it as an episodic, not a short film, because if it's really an episodic piece, like a pilot, there's a very good chance someone might pick it up and go, I want to develop this more. I mean, there's a lot of incubators going on out there. Prentice Penny, Charles King, they are incubating people of color, people who are marginalized, and incubating their ideas. And actually, I know somebody who got picked up, actually it was through a Women in Film thing. They did a pitch online, and Prentice Penny picked it up, and it's now is going to be a Hulu show. So they incubated it. They got a showrunner to work with the writers on it so that they could have a professional showrunner, and then they sold it. So yeah, I think that's your strength more than even short film.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
But it's just my opinion, by the way. I'm going to say, if I were you, I would do that, put it that way.
Very cool. Thank you.
Diane, passing the baton back to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Amy. Great questions. Thank you. And very thoughtful, helpful answers. I mean, it was a lovely conversation. And thank you, Amy, for moderating those interactions so smoothly. We really made it easy for everyone. So thank you. And now, on behalf of all of us at WIFSFBA and those in the audience today, I would really like to thank you, Rona and Monika, for sharing this vast film festival experience and expertise with our community. I mean, the positive impact of this kind of event that will have on our organization's mission, which is to empower, promote, and celebrate women's creative work, will be far-reaching beyond this hour and a half. And for that, we're very grateful. I really appreciate you. We all do. Thank you very much.
Very, very welcome.
Wish you well on the festival circuit, everyone.
Yeah. Good luck on the journey.
I'd also like to send out a special thanks to Carol Hall, Julie Rubio, Nicole Carlson, Amy Zins, Nular Nadem, Noni Varani, and Amanda Chen for their contributions to putting this event on its feet, and to the WIFSFBA board for their support. So it was wonderful spending the morning with all of you. We hope to see you at our next event, which is on September 23rd. It's a Zoom event. And we're going to focus on a topic that is affecting all of us, the WGA SAG-AFTRA strike issues and the uniqueness to the Bay Area. Go to our website, and on there you'll see more info. So our website is also in the chat. So that's it. Please enjoy the rest of your day. And again, thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.